Hello. Welcome back. So, I've just been noticing recently, really, that conversations can speed up really quickly. And someone becomes reactive, their tone changes, their energy shifts. And before I realize it, I've sped up too and my voice changes, my body tightens, and I start reacting instead of responding. And one of the most important communication skills that we can learn is really how to slow the interaction down instead of unconsciously matching the other person's pace. So today, I want to talk about how to do that. Usually, we automatically match other people's energy. One of the things we naturally do, right, as humans, is matching, mirroring. If someone is anxious, we become anxious. If someone speeds up, we speed up. If someone reacts emotionally, we often react emotionally too. And this is automatic. Our nervous system is wired for it. But mindful communication, intentional communication asks something different of us. It asks us not to automatically match the other person, but to become grounded enough to bring a different energy into the interaction. So our practice becomes slowing down. There's a quote often attributed to Bruce Lee that I love, which is the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. And while I'm less interested in being powerful in conversations, I do think there's wisdom in learning how to slow down enough to actually see clearly what's happening before we speak. Because reacting happens almost instantaneously. Responding takes awareness. The pause practice, right? How do we slow things down? One simple practice is taking a beat, which I liken kind of like to a beat in music, right? A breath. And then we ask ourselves a question. So, first, you take a beat, even just 1 second. Then you take a breath, and this interrupts the automatic reaction. And then we ask ourselves an internal question. We ask ourselves, is what I'm about to say kind? Is what I'm about to say honest? Is what I'm about to say helpful? And is what I'm about to say necessary? And if the answer is yes, then you're likely responding intentionally instead of reacting automatically. You are slowing everything down. The purpose of communication, you know, within mindful communication, for me, the purpose of communication is not to win interactions. It's to help ourselves and others suffer less. And that means not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every irritation needs expression. Not every reaction needs action. Let's give this a simple example. So let's say you're at the grocery store, you're checking out, and the cashier asks, "Did you find everything okay?" And you're about to say, "Well, you didn't have the hummus I like, so I had to get another brand, and we'll see if it's any good." Now, maybe all of that is true, but before speaking, you take a beat, you take a breath, and you ask yourself, is what I'm about to say kind? Is it helpful? Is it necessary? Is it honest? And you realize, while it might be true, nothing about saying it is actually going to improve the situation. So instead, you simply say, I did, thanks. And then you continue on with your day, helping yourself and the other person. And these small moments really matter. A lot of people think that mindful communication only applies to major conversations, but actually, the small interactions are where we practice so that when we get to those bigger interactions, we are able to navigate really easily because it's much easier to slow ourselves down in these little moments first at the grocery store, when we're in traffic, we're noticing the awareness when we're on the phone, when we're with strangers. And over time, our nervous system begins learning I don't have to react immediately. And speaking slower, it really changes the energy. Sometimes slowing down a conversation is really as simple as speaking more slowly, moving more slowly, or pausing before responding. So when one person slows down, it often changes the rhythm of the entire interaction. Not always, but often. And even if the other person stays reactive in their reactive mode, you remain connected to yourself. That changes the dynamic of the interaction. So you don't need to match someone else's urgency. You don't need to respond instantly. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to breathe, You are allowed to choose your words carefully, and the other person might think it's odd, and that's okay, because that pause is often where mindful communication begins. That's where we begin to speak more intentionally. So this week, notice moments where conversations start speeding up, notice the impulse to immediately react, and instead see if you can take a beat, a breath, and ask the question, is what I'm about to say kind, honest, and helpful? And just see what changes. All right. If you'd like more support with intentional communication, mindful communication, self talk, difficult conversations, I share practices and reflections in my books and audio courses, and I'll link those below. And if you notice yourself getting pulled into the speed or energy of other people, I'd love to just hear about it in the comments. And yeah, thanks for being here, and I will see you next week.